get on the road and you're just out there against everybody else. And here I just think that our guys just feel comfortable and good. It's credit the atmosphere that's here. It's just a lot of fun to play in right now.
I mean, I just enjoy playing in the big moments, in the big games. I think that's when I have the most fun. When things are on the line, and a lot of guys stepped up tonight, and I mean, I can't say it enough. We're one win away from going to the finals, especially after everything we've been through.
Now that's a playoff chain. I didn't know the difference between the regular season and the playoff chain. That is the playoff chain. CC, you watched the game. How were the Celtics able to beat the Cavs last night?
Well, for one, I think it's easy for me to see that as a team, the Celtics are a lot better team than the Cavs. And they have more things that they can go to. They have Jaylen Brown and Tatum. Either one of them can get off at any point in the game. They have Horford, who is far more aggressive. The adjustment, Brad Stevens, what is he going to do? He did two things, put Baines into the starting lineup. People say, well, he only scored 6 points. The energy that he brought and those points early, it really helped them get off to a fast start. What else were they going to do when they got LeBron, especially against Rozier and others? They were going to front LeBron no matter where he was. So you'd have to throw a high pass over, which would take time, and they were going to double team on the throw. So those are the two adjustments that they made. Making shots in the NBA is very, very important, and how they shot the ball behind the three-point line early. Those were the biggest differences. The other subplots, the backcourt of the Cavs being terrible. I mean, J.R. Smith, of all four teams left, all right, there's 5 starters on each team. J.R. Smith is the worst starter of all the finals teams left. And last night was just even more evidence, all right? As Nick would say, man, right now I think J.R. washed up. Like, because he only looks a shell of himself when they won the championship a couple years ago, and the J.R. that we even seen last year. So those are the things that I thought led the Celtics to the victory in game number 5.
To your point on J.R., just to build off it, I'll go further. J.R. would not be in the rotation for any of the other 3 finals teams. Like, who's J.R. taking minutes from on Houston? Who's he taking minutes from on Golden State? Like, amazingly, you got more faith in Swaggy P than you do J.R. Smith right now for Golden State. He's certainly not taking minutes from anyone on Boston. But J.R. wasn't the reason they lost. He was part of the overall problem, which was there were 2 things going on yesterday. Because the Cavs, amazingly, defense wasn't bad. They was bad in the first quarter and then kept them in the game. They were even in the fourth quarter. They got 4 consecutive stops, but on the other end had 4 consecutive misses, and then 2 turnovers followed that up. Defense was fine. What happened yesterday was LeBron had a mediocre game by his standards, probably a subpar game by his standards, and everyone else was horrible. Kevin Love had 10 first-quarter points for the rest of the way. The 4 non-LeBron starters after the first quarter had 13 points in 67 minutes of action. George Hill and JR both make 1 shot. Ty Lue, who I was giving credit to with the adjustments he made. Why did Kyle Korver not play more? Well, Ty Lue says after the game, oh, well, his matchup's Semi Ojeleye, and he didn't get in the game, so that threw us for a loop. Come on, man. Like, this is the Eastern Conference Finals, one of the biggest games of your season. And then I'll go back to where I said earlier, LeBron didn't have the punch or the push that I expected him to have, knowing what he knew, which was we can essentially win the series tonight. And also once he saw, all right, we played a terrible first half. We're only down 11. They cut it under 10 multiple times in the second half, and it's not like LeBron was saving up something to try to have a closing kick. He just didn't have it last night. Now, he still gave you 26. He's led his team in points, rebounds, and assists, but that wasn't enough for what they needed yesterday.
You said yesterday this was not a must-win for the Cavs. It was a must-win for Boston.
Yes.
Can you talk about Jason Tatum and how impressive it was that he came out the way he did after having sort of a little bit of a subpar last couple of games in Cleveland?
Yeah, he played different on the road, but he's been probably their most consistent player through the regular season. He's even upped his scoring. That's one of the most impressive things about the Celtics, what they're doing. Their top 3 scorers, which have 6 years of NBA experience. Rozier.
6 years.
Yeah, Rozier's
That's
got
crazy.
3. Tatum, a rookie, and Jaylen Brown in his second year.
Yeah.
So that right there, poised, though. The moment wasn't too big for him. Great defense. This is the best defense I've seen Tatum play. So his overall contribution wasn't just that he was shooting the ball, that he was poised, but his ability to play defense, get deflections. I thought this was his most impressive defensive outing.
But this is why this is such a missed opportunity for Cleveland. Going into the game, what do you want to do? Hold Boston under 100. They did it. In fact, Boston didn't score more than 23 points in any quarter except for quarter 1. What do you want to do? Make sure Terry Rozier still continues on the trend he had in Cleveland, which is not quite unplayable, but problematic for Boston. He was, I think, 3 for 15 in the game, and they were hunting him down on defense. Make sure Al Horford doesn't get off. Horford was good, but he was held to only 4 field goals made. You did all of those things, and you were dominated in that game from start to finish. There were times it looked like Cleveland could make a comeback, but there was no time in that game that Boston was not in full control of it. And it's not because the defense didn't show up. It's not because Boston went unconscious from 3. They did make 13 threes, but they took almost 40 of them. Like, so they, I mean, the
6 in the first quarter, though, were a huge difference.
Absolutely right.
Because it breeds so much confidence as you go into the second half of the game.
Halfway through this regular season, I asked both of you guys if it seemed like LeBron was asked to do too much on this team, that eventually would he just get tired and worn down, that physically he's doing a lot, emotionally he's sort of carrying the team, and the answer was a resounding, but that's what he does. He's good at it. He doesn't get tired. It seemed to be in his prime somehow in like year 15. I'll ask you again, in this postseason alone, is he being asked to do too much and just shoulder too much of the load?
No, that's who LeBron James is. That's the reason why he's so great. That's why there's a ravine between the best player in the world and the other best players. No, he had a bad day. To me, it looked like more of a respiratory thing. Some days you just can't breathe. To me, he had a hard time getting his breath. That's all part of being an athlete. Some mornings you wake up and you don't have your best stuff. But if he had some type of support, he would have been able to get through this game. But this is what LeBron James, and that's why his career has been so great. He's exceeded all expectations, even when he had the nickname the King and the heir apparent, the kid from Akron, who's going to bring a championship to Cleveland. On the cover of Sports Illustrated, he always exceeds expectations. But last night let you know, in the life of an athlete, can you have a bad day? And yeah, 26,
10, and 5. That's his bad day, and that is the burden. And I will not give LeBron a pass this morning, because I can't sit on television and say not only is he clearly the best player in the world, but he's the best player ever, and then hold him to a regular superstar standard. I could say, listen, we all thought Chris Paul had a pretty damn good Game 4 for the Rockets. He had 27, 2, and 4. We all think LeBron played really poorly. He had 26, 10, and 5. But that's fair. Chris Paul is playing by a different set of rules, just like Durant is, just like Steph is. That is the burden of being the best player in the league unanimously and one of the best players ever unanimously. He needed to be better yesterday. Period, point blank. He looked winded. The respiratory thing's interesting, see, because I hadn't thought of that. I hadn't experienced it, obviously.
Well, you
he
could
looked
see
winded
him
early.
Well, you could see the way he was breathing. Very seldom you ever see LeBron doubled over with his hands on his knees. A lot of times as a coach, you look at players on film and they train you. Watch for the guys that are grabbing their shorts. You know that they're tired. That's when you want to attack them. Also, when he went to the bench, several times he had some type of Kleenex or something that he was blowing his nose. You don't blow your nose in athletic competition unless you're having some type of respiratory or you're having a hard time breathing. That's what I saw. Not as an excuse. As a fan, an observer of the game, and a person who's been in competition, these are the things that you watch for. And also after the game. No one knows him better than Ty Lue. Ty Lue said in the press conference, he was winded. He looked gassed. Now, LeBron tried to go beyond that and try to, make it seem as if it wasn't a big deal, but his coach even noticed it.
I've said before that LeBron's uninjurable, and that appears through 15 years to be true. But he is not indefatigable. He's not someone that cannot get tired after the workload he's carried. We're just surprised when we see it. Now, they play in about 36 hours. I expect him to be as great as we've seen him throughout the majority of this postseason. That is the standard that he's set. But they needed a 40-point game from LeBron yesterday to win, given what the supporting cast did, and he didn't have it in him.
I know. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the luxury of getting a cold, so we're going to have to talk to him about it.
He doesn't.
No, he really doesn't.